Hi students, in this video, let's try to understand quantitative comparison questions. Now, these are very important questions because you will get approximately 7 to 8 quantitative comparison questions per section. Alright, so let's dive deep into these type of questions and build a strong arsenal of techniques which you can use to tackle these type of questions. So in this video, we start with understanding the structure of these type of questions and then we'll move on to techniques to handle these type of questions. Alright, now as the name suggests, quantitative comparison questions are questions where you need to find a relationship between two quantities. Alright, now to understand this question structure, let's take a sample question. So over here, I have a sample question. X is greater than 5, Y is less than 30, X and Y are not equal. Alright, so this part over here is the question stem. Alright, now in quantitative comparison questions, you may or may not have a question stem. Alright, now what's the remaining part? Over here you can see that quantity A is given, which is X by Y for this question. Similarly, over here you can see quantity B is given, which is Y by X in the case of this question. So you will be given two quantities, alright, and then you have 4 answer options out of which you need to choose the right option which rightly describes the relationship between these two quantities. Alright, now as I've already mentioned, you may or may not have a question stem over here. So in some questions, some extra information will be given over here, and in some questions directly quantity A and quantity B will be given to you. Alright, now let's try to understand these 4 options. Option A is quantity A is greater. Alright, so that means if quantity A is greater than quantity B, you need to mark option A. Now remember, this must be so in all cases or for all values, right? It should always be so if this is the right answer. Similarly, if you mark option B, then quantity B has to be greater than A, and it has to be so in all cases and for all values. Alright, now if you are marking answer C as the right answer, this would be correct if the two quantities are always equal. Alright, now we are left with one more option. Now, if the relationship between these two quantities varies, that is, sometimes A is greater than B, sometimes B is greater than A, or sometimes they are equal, right? So there is no constant relationship, it's varying. In this case, you need to mark answer option D as the correct answer. Alright, now remember, in all quantitative comparison questions or QC questions, right, the 4 options will always be the same. Now, don't worry about by-hearting or memorizing these options, because as we dive deeper and solve more and more questions of this type, naturally you will start remembering these 4 options. Alright, now that we have understood the structure of these type of questions, let's try to understand 2 very common approaches to tackle these type of questions, and after this we will get into the techniques. Alright, now 2 very common methods employed to solve QC type questions is plugging in numbers and then employing algebra. Alright, now a very important thing that I would like to highlight to you before we go deeper into these techniques as well as other techniques is that don't rely on just one of these approaches. There are many students who only rely on plugging in numbers, and there are many students who only rely on algebra. But I would strongly recommend that you use both these approaches appropriately. Now that will help you to have sufficient tools to solve any question given to you in the best possible manner. Now remember, plugging in numbers is very useful to prove the answer as option D, that is, the relationship cannot be determined. And algebra is many times very useful in arriving at the correct answer, whether it is A, B or C, in a very short time. Let me quickly demonstrate this to you over here, and then we will move on to the techniques in great depth. Alright, now let's take a sample question. Say it's given that X is less than 4 and Y is less than 3. Alright, so that's the question stem, and quantity A is X and quantity B is Y. Now it is very convenient to plug in numbers and check. Alright, now if I take X as 1 and Y as 2, I find that quantity A is greater than quantity B, right? And this is true, right? If I take X as 1, that's less than 4, so this part over here is true. And if I take Y as 2, then that's less than 3, so this part is true, right? Alright, now what if I take X as 2 and Y as 1? then I get the reverse, right? Quantity A is greater than quantity B. Now, because sometimes I'm getting less than and sometimes I'm getting greater than, the relationship cannot be ascertained, and the correct answer is option D. Alright, now what about algebra? Let me quickly demonstrate to you that it's very useful to know algebra. Alright, so over here I have a sample question. A and B are such that A plus B the whole square is greater than A square plus B square. Now quantity A is A into B and quantity B is 0. Alright. Now we need to find out which of these two quantities is greater, or whether at all we can find the relationship. Now if you employ plugging in numbers to find the relationship, you would have to try different combinations, right? Now because we know the identity of A plus B the whole square, it's very useful to use algebra over here. Now A plus B the whole square is A square plus 2AB plus B square. So as per the information given in the question stem, A square plus 2AB plus B square is greater than A square plus B square. Now I can remove A square plus B square from the left hand side and the right hand side, right? Because you can add or subtract anything in an inequality without changing the sign. Now we cover this in great depth and the reason behind this in the section where we discuss inequalities. Alright, now over here we get 2AB greater than 0, right? That means AB is greater than 0. So clearly I can find that quantity A will be greater than quantity B without trying to have different combinations of numbers. So algebra in this aspect is very useful. So again, let me summarize. Have a mentality that you are ready to employ techniques as well as use algebra. Alright, now let's get into various techniques to help you tackle QC questions in the best possible manner and in the least amount of time. Alright, now the first point that I bring to you is do operations on quantities. What do I mean with that? Let's take a sample question to understand this. So I have two quantities, quantity A that is x minus 9x square minus 12 and quantity B that is 15 plus x minus 9x square. Now when it comes to operations on quantities, you can perform the same operation on quantity A as well as quantity B without changing the relationship between these two quantities. What are the operations that you can do? You can add, you can subtract, you can multiply or divide. But when it comes to multiplication and division, you can do it only with a positive number. Let's try to understand this better. Now we know that if we take two numbers 7 and 9, 7 is less than 9. Now let's perform an addition and check whether the relationship is changing. So I'm adding 2 to 7 and 2 to 9. Now you can see that the relationship is still the same, right? 7 plus 2 is 9 and 9 plus 2 is 11. So over here we have a less than relationship and it is maintained over here, right? Now let's subtract something from 7. Now and from 9, both the sides we need to subtract the same number. If I subtract 3 from both sides, I have 7 minus 3 and 9 minus 3. And you can see that the relationship is still the same, right? 7 minus 3 is 4 and 9 minus 3 is 6. Alright, now what if I divide and multiply by a positive number? So let's do that over here. I have 7 by 2 and 9 by 2 and I have 7 into 2 and 9 into 2. Now you can see that in both these cases, the sign remains the same, right? 7 by 2 is 3.5 and 9 by 2 is 4.5 and 3.5 is less than 4.5. Over here you have 14 and over here you have 18 and 14 is less than 18, right? So that's why we can do these operations on these two quantities and maintain the relationship as it is. Now you will see very soon how this is a very important and very helpful way of solving QC questions. Now remember, you can multiply and only divide with positive numbers. What happens if you do this with negative numbers? Let's see that over here. If I multiply 7 with minus 2 and 9 with minus 2, I have minus 14 and minus 18. And minus 14 is greater than minus 18. So you can see that the sign is changing, right? Over here we had less than and over here we are having greater than. That's why we don't do this with negative numbers. And the same holds true if you divide by a negative number. Say 7 by minus 2 and 9 by minus 2, you can see that the sign is reversing. Alright, so we have seen the reason behind this. Now let's try to apply it to this question over here. Now quantity A is x minus 9x square minus 12 and quantity B is 15 plus x minus 9x square. You can see that over here you have an x and over here you have an x, right? So let's subtract x from quantity A and quantity B. Alright, so what is left in quantity A? That would be minus 9x square minus 12 and in quantity B you have 15 minus 9x square, right? Because this x and this x has been removed. Now over here you have a minus 9x square. Over here also you have a minus 9x square. So let's add 9x square to both the quantities. And what are you left with? Over here you have minus 12 and on quantity B you have 15, right? Now it is very easy to see that 15 is greater than minus 12. Therefore, the correct answer to this question is option B, that is quantity B is greater than quantity A. Now let's do one more question. Say this is the question given to you. Quantity A is x square minus 6x plus 12 and quantity B is 2. Alright, now we know that A minus B the whole square is equal to A square minus 2AB plus B square. So we are using a little bit of our algebra knowledge over here, right? Now over here you can see that you have x square minus 6x plus 12. That's the same thing as x square minus 2 into 3 into x plus 12, right? So this is very similar to what we have over here, right? Now if I can change this 12 to 3 square, then I could convert it into this form, right? So let's do that over here. I'm converting this to x square minus 2 into 3 into x plus 9. So I'm changing 12 to 9, right? For this I have to subtract quantity A by 3, right? Now let me do the same thing to quantity B also. So 2 minus 3 gives me minus 1 in quantity B. Alright, now quantity A is x square minus 6x plus 9, right? That is the same as x minus 3 the whole square, right? Now because we are squaring it, this will always be positive, right? Now over here you have a negative number in quantity B and quantity A is always positive. So definitely quantity A is greater than quantity B, and hence the correct answer to this question is option A. Alright, now let's see the next tool in our kit. So the first one was doing operations on the quantities. Alright, now the second one that we discuss over here is plugging in numbers. Let's discuss that over here with the sample question. Bob bought X chocolates for Y dollars. Alright, each chocolate has the same price. Now quantity A is X by Y and quantity B is 2. Now we need to find the relationship between these two quantities. So it's very convenient to plug in some numbers. Let's do that. What if X is equal to 2 and Y is equal to 1? X by Y is equal to 2 by 1, which is equal to 2, and quantity B is 2. So both of them are equal. What if I substitute X as 4 and Y as 4? In this case, X by Y is 4 by 4, which is equal to 1, and quantity B is 2, right? So in this case it was equal, and in this case quantity B is greater than quantity A. Therefore we cannot ascertain the relationship, right? Therefore the correct answer to this question is option D. Alright, now using this question, let's try to analyze this method in a better way. Alright, so let me make some space over here. Now a very useful thing about plugging in numbers is that quickly you narrow down to two options, right? For example, what do I mean with that? Now we substituted over here X is equal to 2 and Y is equal to 1, and we got that A is equal to B, right? We got the two quantities as equal. Now we have four options: A, B, C and D. So option A is straightly out, right? Because they are equal over here. Similarly, option B is also out. Now we are left with only two options, that is option C and option D. So plugging in numbers quickly narrows down your answer to two options. Alright, now what's the next thing? The next thing about plugging in numbers is it's very useful to prove the answer as option D. But this usefulness is also its drawback. Unless you get two contradictory situations, you cannot be certain that the answer is A, B or C, right? So sometimes you may get quantity A is greater than quantity B for some numbers when you plug it in. But if you are trying multiple ways and still you're not able to get a contradictory result, then you either have to guess and move forward, or you have to try to use algebra to be sure that that is the correct answer. Let's see what do we mean with that. So over here I have another question. Quantity A is 10x plus 4 and quantity B is 4x plus 10. Now if you substitute x is equal to 0, you get quantity A as 4 and quantity B as 10, right? So 4 is less than 10. Alright, now what if you substitute x as 1 by 2? Let's try that. In quantity A, you have 10 into 1 by 2, which is 5, 5 plus 4, which is 9. So you get 9 in quantity A, and in quantity B, you have 4 into 1 by 2, which is 1, which is 2, and 2 plus 10, which is 12. So again, you have 9 and 12, and the relationship is the same. Now, because you tried two numbers and you are getting the same relationship, you may be tempted to go ahead with answer option B, but that might not be the answer, right? That's the drawback over here. You can't be certain without two contradictory results. What do we mean with that? Let's proceed and try some more values for x. What if I substitute x is equal to -1? I get -6 as quantity A and 6 as quantity B. Again, the relationship is less than, alright? But if I substitute x is equal to 1, what do I get? I get 10 plus 4, which is 14, and over here I have 4 plus 10, which is 14. In this case, the relationship is different, right? Therefore, the correct answer to this question is option D. It is not option B. That's why we need to be careful when using plugging in numbers. Alright, now let me quickly show you one more method with which you could have solved this question, which is the first technique that we discussed, which is performing operations on the quantities, right? Over here you have 10x plus 4 and you have 4x plus 10, right? If you subtract 4 from both, you get 10x and 4x plus 6, right? Now, after this, if you subtract 4x from both, you get 6x over here, and over here you get 6, right? Now, let's divide both the quantities by 6, which is a positive number. So you get x over here and you have 1 over here, right? So basically you're trying to compare x and 1, and there is no criteria given that x is positive or x is negative, nothing, right? So x could be -1, in which case you will have a relationship like this, and x could be 1000, in which case you have a relationship like this. So clearly the correct answer to this question is option D. Alright, now let's proceed and try to see what is a good range of numbers to try when you plug in numbers. So what type of numbers should you use? Now remember, a common trap that students fall into is trying numbers of the same type again and again. That would just give you the same result again, right? So you need to have a very good mix of numbers when you try plugging in numbers. Let's see that over here. So over here we have a number line. Now some of the good numbers to try in questions is -1, 0 and 1, right? So plugging in these are always good. Also try plugging in a proper fraction, which is something between 0 and 1. Let's say 1 by 2, and also take a negative fraction, which is, for example, -1 by 2. Now also try to plug in numbers which are in these regions, right? That is greater than 1 and less than -1. For example, 2 or 10, and less than -1 would be -2 or -10. Now this would be a very good range of numbers to plug in and check. Let me write them over here: 0, 1, -1, 1 by 2, -1 by 2. For example, you can also take 100, -100, 1000. These help to check extreme cases. Alright, now why is it important to take numbers between 1 and 0 and -1 and 0? That is in this range, right? Why is it important? Let's see a special property of a proper fraction and a negative fraction. Let's see that over here. Now, if you take numbers between -1 and 0, let x be something between -1 and 0, and if you raise that number to a positive integer, then the value that you get over here will be greater than x, right? Let's see that with an example. But what is actually happening is you are moving towards the right of the number line. Now, if you take a number between 0 and 1, let that be your y, and if you raise it to a positive integer, then you are moving to the left. That is, this number over here will be less than y. Remember, on the number line, as you go to the right, you get greater numbers, and on the number line, as you move to the left, you get lower or smaller numbers. Alright, now let's check this. Let's take, for example, 1 by 2. So 1 by 2 is a number between 0 and 1. So let's take y as 1 by 2. Now if we raise 1 by 2 to 2, we get 1 by 4, right? 1 by 2 the whole square is 1 by 4. Now you can see that 1 by 4 is less than 1 by 2, right? So we have moved towards the left. Alright, now what if we take a number between -1 and 0? Let's try that over here. Now, for example, let's take x as -1 by 2. If I raise -1 by 2 to 2, I get 1 by 4, right? And 1 by 4 is greater than -1 by 2. So we have moved to the right, right? And this is not only the case of even powers. What if I take -1 by 2 to the power 3? In that case, I get minus 1 by 8, and minus 1 by 8 is also greater than minus 1 by 2, right? So when you do this, you're moving towards the right on the number line. All right, now let me keep this aside and make some space over here. Now, what about numbers which are greater than 1 and less than minus 1? Let's take two numbers, 10 and minus 10. And let's see whether this property holds true. If I take 10 and square it, 10 square is equal to 100, right? But 100 is greater than 10, which is not the case over here, right? 1 by 4 was less than 1 by 2, right? So this property over here is not true for numbers greater than 1, right? Now, what about this property which we discussed over here? Let's take minus 10, all right? And let's square it. If you square minus 10, you will get 100, right? And 100 is greater than minus 10. If you cube minus 10, you will get minus 1000, and minus 1000 is less than minus 10. So sometimes you're getting a greater than sign over here, and sometimes you're getting a less than sign over here. All right. So over here, we have just seen through a demonstration how numbers on different parts of the number line behave differently. That's why it is very important when you plug in numbers to check and try a QC question, you always should try a good range of numbers. All right, now let's do one more question. The question reads, x is greater than 5, y is less than 30, x and y are not equal. So this is the question stem. Now quantity A is x divided by y and quantity B is y divided by x. All right, now remember the approach should be to try to disprove the answer options or to get the answer as D, right? To get different relationships between the two quantities. All right, so over here we have x, we have y, and quantity A is x by y and quantity B is y by x. Now let's take some numbers. If I take x as 6 and y as 10, is the condition satisfied? Yes, x is greater than 5 and y is less than 30, right? Now, what about quantity A and B? Quantity A is 6 by 10 and quantity B is 10 by 6. So clearly B is greater than A. All right, now let's try to create a scenario where this is not the case. All right, now that should be our aim, right? Now remember, when you got B as greater than A, directly you have eliminated half of the options. That is, it cannot be answer option A and it cannot be answer option C. All right, now let's plug in the values x as 6 and y as 3. If x is 6 and y is 3, quantity A is 6 by 3 and quantity B is 3 by 6. And you can see that x is greater than 5 and y is less than 30. So the conditions are also satisfied. Now in this case, B is less than A, right? B is just 1 by 2 and A is 2. So B is less than A, and therefore the correct answer to this question is option D. Now remember, you won't always get answer option D trying plugging in numbers. Now in that case, either you can try another approach, maybe algebra, or if you're short on time, do your guess and move on. All right, now let's do some more questions where we practice plugging in numbers. So over here we have a question. X is a positive integer, so that's the question stem. Now quantity A is 0.8 to the power x and quantity B is 1 by 4. All right, now when x is equal to 1, what is the relationship? We have 8 by 10 as quantity A and quantity B is 1 by 4. So A is greater than B, right? Now when x is equal to 2, what happens? That's 0.8 to the power 2 or 8 by 10 into 8 by 10. That's equal to 64 by 100, right? And quantity B is still 1 by 4. Now again over here also 64 by 100 is greater than 1 by 4. Remember 1 by 4 is nothing but 25 by 100 or 25%, right? So again quantity A is greater, but you can see that in when x was 1, right, this is 80%. 8 by 10 is nothing but 80 by 100, which is 80%, right? Now when x is equal to 2, we are getting 64%. You can see that it is reducing, right? So you can just imagine, take an extreme value. Say we take x as 10,000. What would be the value of quantity A? That would be 0.8 to the power 10,000, right? Which will be very close to 0, right? Therefore, in this case, quantity B will be greater, right? Therefore, the correct answer to this question is option D. All right. Now, we have discussed plugging in numbers. Now, let me also remind you that you cannot plug in numbers in all types of questions, right? This is a common mistake that a lot of students make. Now, over here, I have 4 sample questions. Let's not try to solve them, but let's just discuss whether you can employ the approach of plugging in numbers in these questions. All right. So the first question says x is not 0 and 7 by x plus 2 is equal to 1 by 3x. So this is the given equation. Now, can you plug in numbers over here? You cannot, right? Some students may say that let me try x is equal to 1, x is equal to 10, etc. Right? But you cannot plug in numbers over here because you have an equation over here. So x can only be a value which is satisfying this equation over here. Therefore, you cannot use plugging in numbers to solve this question. What about the next question? It's given that x is between -1 and 1 and quantity A is 1 by x square and quantity B is x square. Over here, yes, you can plug in numbers, but remember when you plug in numbers, x should be in the given range which is permissible. Alright, what about this question over here? You have a point over here which is 3, 0. You have a point on this line which is 4, 2 and you have one more point on the same line which is 5, x. Now quantity A is x and quantity B is 3, right? Now in this case you cannot plug in numbers, right? You have to find the value of x and then establish whether quantity A or B is greater, right? You cannot do it because the slope of this line is fixed, right? Okay, now what about this question over here? Now over here you can see that you have a square PQRS. Now you need to compare the two shaded areas. Over here in quantity A you have area of PSR and in quantity B you have the area of this semicircle, right? Now this is a circle with QR as diameter. Now in this case, yes, you can employ plugging in numbers. You can take the side of the square as say 10 or 4 and you can solve the question, right? Because over here there is no criteria based on which you can choose the number, right? Even if you take algebra, if you say the side of the square is x, you can still solve it, right? And find which is greater area, or if you want you can plug in a number and say x is 10 and find which of these areas is greater. So remember, you cannot plug in any number. When you plug in a number, it has to satisfy the criteria given, and you cannot always plug in numbers. If there is only some numbers which are allowed as per the question stem, then you cannot plug in any number. So this is a common mistake that students make. So that's why I'm highlighting it over here. All right, let's proceed. Now to make the method of plugging in numbers more effective, try to make the quantities equal. Let me show that to you over here. I have two quantities. Quantity A is 2x plus 3 and quantity B is 2x plus 3 the whole cube. Now when x is equal to minus 3 by 2, these two quantities become 0, right? Over here you have minus 3 plus 3, right? 2 into minus 3 by 2 is minus 3 plus 3 is 0, and over here also you have 0 to the power 3 which is 0. So these two are equal, right? Now clearly A, B, C and D, you are getting A and B out of the question. Now you are just left with two more options. Now try to plug in any other value. Let's say x is equal to 1. In that case, quantity A is 2 plus 3 which is 5 and quantity B is 5 to the power 3. And these are not equal, right? Don't waste time to calculate this. These are just not equal. So in one case you have both of the quantities equal, and in another case you have them not equal. Therefore the correct answer to this question is option D. Let's do a few more practice questions with this approach. All right, so over here I have a question. Quantity A is x square plus 3x cube minus 5 and quantity B is 3x to the power 5 minus 2x to the power 4 minus 5. All right, now over here you can see that I have a constant term minus 5 and minus 5 in both the cases, and all the other terms have x. So if I substitute x is equal to 0, then quantity A becomes minus 5 and quantity B becomes minus 5, and these are equal, right? Now if I substitute any other value for x, let's try x is equal to 1. In this case, quantity A becomes 1 plus 3 minus 5 which is equal to minus 1, and quantity B becomes 3 minus 2 minus 5 which is equal to minus 4, right? And these two are not equal. Therefore, in one case, you're getting the two quantities equal, and in another case you're getting them as not equal, and hence the correct answer to this question is option D. Alright, what about the next question over here? I have quantity A as x plus 1 into x plus 2 into x plus 4 and quantity B as x minus 5 into x plus 20 into x plus 1. Alright, now you can see that you have x plus 1 in both the quantities, right, as a factor, right? Therefore, if I substitute x is equal to minus 1, then both the quantities become 0, right? Because 0 into anything is 0, right? Therefore, quantity A is 0 and quantity B also is 0, and these two become equal. Now, let me substitute any other value for x. Now, because I have x is equal to x minus 5 as a factor over here, if I substitute x is equal to 5, this factor over here will become 5 minus 5, which is equal to 0. So, let's try that. At x is equal to 5, you can see that quantity A is not 0, right? It's 6 into 7 into 9, right? You don't need to calculate it. It's just not 0. And quantity B is 0, right? So they are not equal, right? Again, the answer to this question is option D. So this is a very interesting approach. When you plug in numbers, try whether you can make the two quantities equal. And if you can do that, then try another combination and see whether they are still equal or not. Alright, now we have discussed two methods. One is performing operations on the quantities, and the second method that we discussed is plugging in numbers. Let's proceed. Another important thing to keep in mind when you do QC questions is to spend time with the question stem if there is a question stem. So always remember, slow down at the beginning when you do a QC question and spend time with the question stem. Read the question carefully, and if you feel that the answer is obvious, always beware, there might be a trap. Alright, now let's see a sample question over here. A is an integer and not odd, and statement A or quantity A is number of different prime factors of A, and quantity B is number of different prime factors of 2A to the power 2. Alright, now over here in the question stem it's mentioned that A is an integer, alright, and it's not odd. So definitely A has to be even, right? Okay, now let's take a few even sample numbers. I have minus 10, 0, 10. Alright, now let's try minus 10. If I take minus 10 as quantity A, then quantity B will be 2 into minus 10, which is minus 20 to the power 2. Alright, now what are the prime factors of minus 10? And remember, over here we are checking for different prime factors. Alright, now minus 10 is minus 1 into 2 into 5. Therefore, there are two prime factors for minus 10, right? Now, remember, minus 1 is not a prime number. Alright, now over here, 2A to the power 2 will be minus 20 square, which is equal to 400. Now, let's prime factorize 400. That would be 2 to the power 4 into 5 square, right? Now, again, you have just two prime factors which are different, right? You have 2 and 5, right? So, these two are the same, and hence the correct answer to this question is option C. Now, remember, logically also you can solve this. Over here it's given that A is even, right? So this over here is definitely even, and over here we are just multiplying with 2, right? And then squaring. Squaring a number will not give it a different prime factor, right? So because you are just multiplying with 2, and to start with A was even already, therefore we are not adding a new prime factor to it, and hence quantity A and quantity B are equal. Now let's proceed to the next important technique for our arsenal, which is approximation. Always try to minimize the calculation to solve QC questions. Try to compare instead of solving. What do I mean with that? Let's take a few examples. Quantity A over here is the circumference of a circle with radius 4, and quantity B is 24. Alright, now we know that the circumference is 2 pi r, right? Now over here the radius is 4. So that would be 2 pi into 4. That would be quantity A. Now you could take the value of pi as 3.14 and find the exact value for quantity A, but that's not the best method, right? We know that pi is 3.14, so it's something greater than 3, right? Therefore, you're just multiplying 2 with something greater than 3 and 4. So that would be a value greater than 24, right? Now over here you have 24, and over here you have a value greater than 24. Definitely quantity A will be greater, and that is the correct answer. So we have saved time, right? You can see that you can do this mentally. You don't even need to use the calculator provided to you. Alright, so remember to compare instead of solving. Don't try to find the exact answer. We just need to know which quantity is greater. Let's do one more question. So over here, quantity A is 23.3 plus 72.5 plus 98.34. Quantity B is 73.86 plus 24.84 plus 98.5. Now, you could take your calculator and find these two sums and establish which quantity is greater, but that is not the best approach, right? If you look carefully at this question, you can see that if you compare 23.3 and 24.84, 24.84 is the bigger number, right? Now, if you compare 72.5 and 73.86, this one over here is the bigger number, right? Now, again, if you compare 98.34 and 98.5, 98.5 is the bigger number. So by comparing these three numbers individually, it's bigger on this side, right? Therefore, definitely quantity B has to be greater than quantity A, and the correct answer to this question is option B. Now, if you do it in this approach, you can do this question much faster than by finding the exact answer of quantity A and quantity B, right? So try to compare instead of solving. Let's do one more question. Quantity A is 23.3 by 45 and quantity B is 419 by 850. Alright, now over here 23.3 by 46. What can you observe? If the denominator was 46.6, that is twice 23.3, this fraction would be 1 by 2, right? 23.3 into 2 is 46.6. That's why I've taken 46.6 in the denominator. Now this ratio is 1 by 2. Now over here you can see that the denominator is slightly less than 46.6, right? Therefore, this fraction over here will be more than 1 by 2, right? Now what about quantity B? It's 419 by 850. Now 2 times 419 is 838. So if the fraction was 419 by 838, the fraction would be equivalent to 1 by 2. Now the denominator over here is slightly greater than 838, right? Therefore, this fraction over here will be less than 1 by 2. So quantity A is greater than 1 by 2 and quantity B is less than 1 by 2, and therefore the answer to this question is option A, that is quantity A is the greater number. Let's do one more question. Quantity A is 2308 into 6048 and quantity B is 4598 into 2987. Now you could take your calculator and do this multiplication and find which quantity is greater, right? But there is a better approach, right? Over here you can see that 2308 is a bit greater than 2300 and 6048 is a bit greater than 6000. So let me write that over here. Now what about quantity B? This is 4598. This is 2987. So 4598 is a bit less than 4600 and 2987 is a bit less than 3000, right? So let me write that over here. Now we are just comparing these two, right? Now I can multiply this part over here with 2 and divide this part with 1 by 2, right? It does not change the answer because 2 into 1 by 2 is 1. Now 2300 becomes 4600. Now because this is a little bit greater than 2300, this becomes greater than 4600, and similarly this part becomes greater than 3000. So quantity A is a number greater than 4600 into a number greater than 3000, and quantity B is a number less than 4600 multiplied with a number less than 3000. Now definitely quantity A has to be greater because these two are greater, right? Therefore the correct answer to this question is option A. Now let me quickly summarize what are the 4 techniques that we have discussed over here. Try to perform operations on the quantities and simplify the quantities so that you can easily establish which quantity is greater. Now plugging in numbers is a very useful technique. It directly eliminates 2 options, but the disadvantage of plugging in numbers is you cannot be certain unless you get 2 contradictory scenarios. Now again we discussed an easy method where trying to make the quantities equal helps you plug in numbers in an effective manner. And remember, if you have a question stem, spend time with the question stem and slow down. Don't rush and make a silly mistake. And the fourth technique that we discussed is try to compare instead of solve. That will save you a lot of crucial time. Now, before we end this video, let's quickly have some tips and traps about QC questions. The first thing is, think if you can reduce calculations and use logic. Let's take an example. I have quantity A as minus 15 into 23 into minus 72 into minus 83. Quantity B is 29 into minus 43 into 68 into minus 197. Now, if you take your calculator and do this calculation, it will waste a lot of your time, right? Try to use logic. You can see that quantity A has 1, 2, 3 negative signs. Therefore, quantity A will be negative and quantity B has only 2 negative signs. Therefore, quantity B will be positive, right? Therefore, using logic, even without doing any calculation, you can establish that quantity B is greater than quantity A. All right. Now, the second thing that I want to remind you is plug in numbers only where you can, right? We have seen scenarios where you cannot plug in numbers. For example, if you have a question 2x plus 4y is equal to 8 and minus x plus 6y is equal to 14. This is the question stem and quantity A is y and quantity B is 3, right? Remember, you cannot plug in numbers over here. You'll have to solve and find the value of y and then check whether it is greater than or less than 3. Now, the next point is geometric figures are not necessarily drawn to scale. Now, over here you have a figure. This looks like a square, but don't assume that it is a square unless it is mentioned. And lastly, remember, always spend time with the question stem. You can always draw out inferences which is not very obvious if you spend time with the question stem. Let's do this question. Quantity A is minus 7 by 9 plus 4 by 7 and quantity B is minus 7 by 9 into 4 by 7. Alright, pause the video, give it a try and then let's do it together. Alright, we are back. I hope you have given it a try. Now let's simplify this and this expression. Over here we have minus 7 by 9 plus 4 by 7 and quantity B is minus 7 by 9 into 4 by 7, right? This simplifies to minus 4 by 9, right? Because over here you have a 7 in the numerator and you have a 7 in the denominator. Alright, now we just need to compare these two quantities. We can do it in multiple approaches. Let's discuss a few approaches with which you can attack this question. Over here you can see that you have minus 7 by 9, right? And over here you have minus 4 by 9. Now one way is you could do operations on the two quantities. Let's add 4 by 9 to quantity A and quantity B. So quantity B will become 0, right? Because you have minus 4 by 9 and then you are adding 4 by 9. Now quantity A will be minus 7 by 9 plus 4 by 9. That would be minus 3 by 9 plus 4 by 7, right? Now you just need to know whether this quantity over here is greater than 0 or not. So let's simplify this over here. This becomes minus 3 into 7, that's minus 21 plus 4 into 9, that's 36 divided by 9 into 7. And you don't need to simplify this. You just see that the numerator will be positive, right? 36 is greater than 21, so this will be positive. So this expression over here will be greater than 0 and hence the correct answer to this question will be A, right? Quantity A is greater than quantity B. Now what would be another approach to solve this? We could simplify this expression over here, that is minus 7 by 9 plus 4 by 7. Let's do that over here. That would give you minus 49 plus 9 into 4 by 9 into 7, right? So this is the way in which you can simplify this type of expressions. So what is it that I've done over here? I multiplied minus 7 and 7, that's minus 49 over here, and 9 into 4, that's 9 into 4 over here, and you have a plus over here because this is plus, and your denominator becomes 9 into 7, right? So what is it that you're doing over here? Basically you're making the denominator of these two fractions the same, right? So minus 7 by 9 can be written as minus 7 by 9, and you multiply both the numerator and denominator with 7, right? And 4 by 7 becomes 4 by 7 and you multiply the numerator and denominator with 9. So in this case you can see that the denominator of these two fractions is 9 into 7, which is equal, and the numerator is minus 49 plus 4 into 9. Alright, now let me make some space over here. Now what does this simplify to? Your numerator is minus 49 plus 36, right? Which is minus 13, and your denominator is 63. So this is minus 13 by 63. Now what is the quantity B? That's minus 4 by 9. Now you just need to know which among these two is bigger. Now how do we do that? You just cross multiply. Let me show that over here. You have minus 13 by 63 and you have minus 4 by 9. Now you just multiply 9 and minus 13 and you multiply 63 and minus 4. So over here you get minus 117, and over here on the right hand side, when you multiply 63 and minus 4, you get minus 252. Now which among these two is bigger? It's minus 117, right? Because these are negative numbers, right? So because minus 117 is greater than minus 252, minus 13 by 63 will be greater than minus 4 by 9. All right. So again, we got quantity A as the bigger value, and hence option A is the correct answer. Now there is one more method in which you could have done it. Over here you have minus 13 by 63, and over here you have minus 4 by 9, right? Now over here the denominator is 63, which is nothing but 7 into 9, right? So you could convert minus 4 by 9 into a fraction where the denominator is 63. So let's do that over here. So I have minus 4 by 9. I multiply the numerator and denominator with 7, so that my denominator over here becomes 63 and my numerator is minus 4 into 7, which is minus 28. So now you just need to compare minus 13 by 63 and minus 28 by 63, out of which minus 13 by 63 is the bigger quantity, right? Therefore again the answer is option A. Let's do this question. X and Y are whole numbers. All right. So what are whole numbers? They are numbers like 0, 1, 2, etc. Now x into y is a multiple of 6. So that's the question stem. Now quantity A is x plus y and quantity B is x into y. All right. Pause the video, give it a try, and then let's do it together. All right. We are back. I hope you have given it a try. Now let's approach this question using plugging in numbers. All right. So let's plug in some numbers. So we have x over here, we have y over here, and then quantity A is x plus y and quantity B is xy. Now if I take x as 1 and y as 6, right, I can do that because it's mentioned that x into y has to be a multiple of 6. That's the only criteria, right? So if I take x as 1 and y as 6, 1 into 6 is a multiple of 6. So it's valid, right? Now in this case, what is x plus y? That would be 1 plus 6, which is 7, and x into y is equal to 6. All right. Now over here you get that quantity A is greater than quantity B. Now directly option B and option C are ruled out. We are left with two more options, that is option A and option D. Now intentionally try to create a scenario where A is less than B. So that's our aim when we plug in numbers, right? We want to see whether we can create contradictory scenarios. All right. Now if I take x as 2 and y as 3, then x into y is again 6, which is a multiple of 6. So the numbers are valid. Now over here x plus y is equal to 5 and x into y is equal to 6, right? Now over here you can see that B is greater than A, right? Which is contradictory to the situation before that we got before. Therefore the correct answer to this question is option D. Let's do this question. Quantity A is 4x and quantity B is 5x. Pause the video, give it a try, and then let's do it together. All right, we are back. I hope you have given it a try. Now, you may be tempted to perform an operation, that is division by x, on quantity A and quantity B. Now, if you do this, you get quantity A as 4 and quantity B as 5, right? And you might mark option B as the correct answer. But this is a wrong approach. You can't do this because you don't know whether x is positive or whether x is negative. Remember, when we discussed the technique of performing operations on the quantities, we had mentioned that if you are multiplying or dividing with a number, both quantity A and quantity B, make sure that the number is positive. So as long as you don't know whether it's a positive number, don't go with this approach. All right. So let's proceed with this question using plugging in numbers. All right. So let's try x is equal to 1. If x is equal to 1, quantity A will be 4 into 1, that is 4, and quantity B will be 5 into 1, which is 5. So in this case, B is greater than A. All right. Now, what if x is minus 1? Let's see. And over here, you can notice that because B is greater than A, directly option A and option C are ruled out, right? We had discussed that this is one of the great advantages of plugging in numbers. You can directly rule out two options by plugging in just one set of values. All right. Now, if x is equal to minus 1, then quantity A will be minus 1 into 4, which is minus 4, and quantity B will be minus 5. Now, in this case, A is greater than B. Therefore, the correct answer to this question is option D. That is, the relationship cannot be determined from the information given. Let's do this question. X cube is equal to 3375. Quantity A is the greatest prime factor of 30x and quantity B is x. Pause the video, give it a try, and then let's do it together. Alright, we are back. I hope you have given it a try. Now let's start with simplifying this expression over here, that is 3375 by prime factorization. Alright, so let's do that over here. Now I take out 5, I get 675. Again I take out 5, I get 135 over here. Again I take out 5, I get 27. I take out 3, I get 9. Again I take out 3 and I get 3 over here. So 3375 is equal to 5 cube into 3 cube, right? Now over here it is mentioned that x cube is equal to 3375. So let me write that over here. X cube is equal to 5 cube into 3 cube, right? Now therefore I can find that x is nothing but 15. Alright, so we have found the value of x. Now quantity A is the greatest prime factor of 30x. Now 30x is equal to 30 into 15. Alright, now 30 is nothing but 2 into 3 into 5, right? When you prime factorize. And 15 is 5 into 3. Now when you do 30x, the greatest prime factor is just 5, right? You don't have a prime factor greater than 5 over here. Therefore, quantity A is 5 and quantity B is 15, right? Which is x. Therefore, quantity B is greater than quantity A, and the correct answer to this question is option B. Let's do this question. Quantity A is 7 cube into 25 and quantity B is 35 into 49. Alright, pause the video, give it a try, and then let's do it together. Alright, we are back. I hope you have given it a try. Now to proceed with this question, do prime factorization, right? That's how you simplify these type of expressions, right? Now over here you have 7 cube into 25, which is the same as 7 cube into 5 square. All right, and over here you have 35 into 49. 35 is nothing but 7 into 5 and 49 is 7 into 7. So this multiplication over here becomes 7 into 5 into 7 square, which is 7 cube into 5. All right. Now over here I have 7 cube into 5 and over here I have 7 cube into 5 square. So clearly 7 cube into 5 square is greater than 7 cube into 5. So this helps you compare very easily without actually having to do the multiplication. Therefore the correct answer to this question is option A. Let's do this question. In a group of children, the ratio of boys to girls is 3:4. The ratio of children who prefer chocolate ice cream to children who prefer vanilla ice cream is 5:9. Every child either prefers chocolate ice cream or vanilla ice cream and no one prefers both. Alright, so that's the question stem. Quantity A says the number of boys in the group and quantity B is the number of children who prefer chocolate ice cream. Alright, pause the video, give it a try, and then let's do it together. Alright, we are back. I hope you have given it a try. Let's do it together. Now what is the information given in the question stem? It's given that boys is to girls is 3:4 and chocolate ice cream preferring children to vanilla ice cream preferring children is 5:9. In this type of questions where you have two parameters, it's always very good to visualize the information given in the question stem in this manner. So over here I have boys, right? And over here I have girls, and this is for chocolate ice cream preferring children and this is for vanilla ice cream preferring children. Now what are these type of questions? It's where you have two parameters, and the case is that in some of the people are falling into parameter 1 and the others are falling into not being part of parameter 1. Now in this case parameter 1 is their sex. Now again over here you have preference, this is parameter 2, and the other criteria is the children are following into the section where parameter 2 is not applied. Remember over here it is mentioned that no one prefers both, right? So everyone either falls into this criteria where parameter 2, that is preference, is chocolate, or they fall into this section, that is not preferring chocolate. So in this type of questions, this is the best way in which you can visualize the information given. Alright, now let's proceed. It's given that boys is to girls is 3:4. Alright, so the total number of boys, if I take that as 3x, then the total number of girls will be 4x. Alright, now it's also given that chocolate is to vanilla is 5:9. So if I take the number of children who prefer chocolate ice cream as say 5y, then the number of children who prefer vanilla ice cream will be 9y. Alright, Now over here, the total will always be the same, right? If you add the boys and the girls, you will get the total. And if you add 5y and 9y, again, you will get the total. All right. Now we need to find the number of boys in the group. That's quantity A, and quantity B is the number of children who prefer chocolate ice cream. All right. So the number of boys in the group will be equal to 3x divided by 3x plus 4x, right? That would be the percentage of boys, right, in this group, right? So that is a fraction which is 3 by 7. Similarly, the number of children who prefer chocolate ice cream will be this part over here, right? Now, what is the fraction? What percentage of children belong to this? That would be 5y divided by the total, which is 5y plus 9y. Again, this is a fraction which is 5 by 14. So we just need to compare these two fractions and identify which is greater, right? Over here you have 3 by 7. I can also write this as 6 by 14 by multiplying the numerator and denominator with 2. Now when I compare 6 by 14 and 5 by 14, clearly quantity A is bigger, and hence the answer to this question is option A. Now over here, remember, here we are asked to find the number of boys in the group, but we are finding the percentage, right? Again, over here we are asked to find the number of children who prefer chocolate ice cream, but we are finding the percentage of children who prefer chocolate ice cream, right? Now this still works because the higher the number, the higher the percentage, right? And the same thing applies over here. Remember, the total is the same because it's the same group that we are dealing with. All right, let's proceed to the next question. Let's do this question. X is an odd integer. Now quantity A is the number of different prime factors of x square, and quantity B is the number of different prime factors of 3x. All right, pause the video, give it a try, and then let's do it together. All right, we are back. I hope you have given it a try. Let's do it together. Now the best way to approach this question is by plugging in numbers. All right, now if I take x as 1, then quantity A would be the number of different prime factors of x square, which is 1. Let me call that as P1, and quantity B would be P3, right? Because 3x is 3 into 1, which is 3. Now, how many prime factors does 1 have? That would be 0, right? Because 1 is not a prime number. So 1 does not have any prime factor. So over here we get 0, and 3 has one prime factor, which is 3 itself. All right. So in this case, we get quantity B as greater than quantity A. Now, if I take x as 3, what is the scenario? X square is 9, right? So the number of different prime factors of 9, that's what we get over here. And quantity B would be the number of different prime factors of 3 into 3, which is again 9. So quantity A is also P of 9, and quantity B is also P of 9, right? And both of them are 1. What is the number of different prime factors of 9? That's just 1, which is 3. Similarly, over here also we have 1. So we are getting 1 equal to 1. Therefore, in one case we got a relationship as less than, and over here we are getting an equal to relationship. Therefore, the correct answer to this question is option D. Let's do this question. For all numbers, x hash is defined as 45 minus x. So whenever you have something like this, they are making a definition where if you input x, x hash will be the output, which is 45 minus x. Like it's like a computer program, right? You may have some input and the program gives you an output. For example, if you take x as 1, what would be x hash? X hash would be 45 minus 1, which is equal to 44. All right, so 1 is the input and 44 is the output. All right, now quantity A is x hash, and again you have to take hash, and quantity B is x. All right, pause the video, give it a try, and then let's do it together. All right, we are back. I hope you have given it a try. Now let's do it together. The best approach to solve this type of questions is by starting with plugging in numbers. So let's try that. What happens when I take x as 1? If I take x as 1, x hash would be 45 minus 1, and then again you have to take the hash, right? 45 minus 1 gives you 44, and then you get hash of 44, right? So that would be 45 minus 44, which is 1, right? And in B you have x, which is 1 itself, right? How did we get this? Now I am substituting x as 1, so x hash of hash, right? That's what we need to find out. All right, now if x is 1, what is x hash? That would be 45 minus 1, which is 44, right? Therefore we have to take 44 hash. Now if x is 44, what is x hash? That's equal to 45 minus 44. That's how we got 1 over here. All right, now let me make some space over here. So in this case, we got quantity A and quantity B both as 1, and therefore they are equal. Now let's try another number. Say we take x as minus 1. What do we get over here? 45 minus minus 1 is 46. So again, we have to take hash of 46, which will be 45 minus 46, which is minus 1, right? And what is quantity B? That's minus 1 itself. All right. So again, when we took x as minus 1, we are getting both the quantities as equal. All right. What happens when x is 0? When x is 0, x hash is 45 and 45 hash is 45 minus 45, which is equal to 0, right? So quantity A is 0 when x is 0 and quantity B is just x. So quantity B also is 0. So again, quantity A and quantity B is 0. Therefore, if you're doing this in the real exam, the best thing would be at this point, you can make the assumption that the correct answer is option C and you can move on, right? But again, remember, unless you get a contradictory scenario with just plugging in numbers, you cannot be certain. Now let's see whether you can also apply algebra over here if you have time in the exam, right? If you want to be certain, then try to prove whether this is the case, that is quantity A and quantity B is equal using algebra. Now, what is x hash of hash? For x hash, I'm substituting 45 minus x, right? So if I take x hash and again I take hash, this would be equal to 45 minus x hash, right? This is by substituting 45 minus x for x hash. And again, I have a hash outside, right? Now, again, I'm taking hash. So over here, wherever I have x, I have to substitute 45 minus x. So this becomes 45 minus x, which is equal to 45 minus 45 plus x, which is equal to x. So we have algebraically proven that quantity A is x and quantity B is also x, and hence the correct answer to this question is option C. Let's do this question. Points A, B and C lie on the number line. Point B is between A and C. All right. The distance between C and B is 10 units and the distance between A and C is 24 units. All right. Quantity A is the distance between the midpoint of line segment AB and point C. And quantity B is the distance between midpoint of line segment AC and point B. All right. Pause the video, give it a try, and then let's do it together. All right. We are back. I hope you have given it a try. Let's do it together. Now, what is the information given in the question stem? Let's try to visualize it. It's given that point B is between A and C. So what are the possibilities? You could have one possibility in this manner and one more possibility over here, right? In this case, A is on the left and C is on the right. In this case, C is on the left and A is on the right. All right. Remember, on the number line, as you go to the right, you get bigger numbers. Now over here, it's just mentioned that B is in between A and C. So it could be either one of these scenarios. All right. Now it's also mentioned that the distance between C and B is 10 units. So let's mark that over here. This distance is 10 units and this distance is 10 units. All right. And it's also given that the distance between A and C is 24 units. So this distance is 24 units, right? Therefore, AB would be 24 minus 10, which is 14. Similarly, over here also, the distance between C and A is 24 units. Therefore, this distance over here will be 24 minus 10, which is 14 units. All right. Now, let's proceed. Now, we need to find quantity A, which is the distance between the midpoint of line segment AB, which would be over here, and point C, which is over here, right? So we need to find the distance between this point and C over here. Now, remember, the distance between A and B is 14, right? Therefore, the midpoint between A and B would be 7 units from A, that is over here, and this distance also would be 7, right? So that's how you get the midpoint over here. Now, the distance between this point and C, visually you can see, is nothing but 7 plus 10, right? So that's 17 as per this diagram. What about as per this diagram? Again, you will see that the midpoint is over here. That's 7 units from A and 7 units from B. So this distance is 7 and this is 10, right? So the distance between this midpoint and C would be 10 plus 7, which is again 17. So we have established that quantity A is 17 units. All right. What about quantity B? Distance between the midpoint of line segment AC and point B. So the midpoint of line segment AC would be 12 units from A and 12 units from C. So that would be somewhere over here, right? So this distance is 12 units, right? And we know that this distance is 10 units. So this distance between this point and point B would be 2 units as per this diagram. What about this diagram? Over here also you can see that the midpoint would be somewhere over here, right? Because this is 12 units from C and we know that this distance is 10 units. Therefore, the distance between point B and this point over here would be again 2 units. So we have established that in either case, quantity B is just 2 units and hence the correct answer to this question is option A. Let's do this question. Over here, you have point A and point B and then different lengths are marked as X, Y, Z, X, Y, Z, X, Y. Alright, now the question stem says Y minus X is equal to Z minus Y is equal to 1 and A into B is equal to 23. Alright, now quantity A is X and quantity B is 4. Pause the video, give it a try and then let's do it together. Alright, we are back. I hope you have given it a try. Let's do it together. Now over here, don't plug in numbers. Alright, so this is a common mistake that students do. You cannot plug in numbers over here, right? Because you have a criteria. So X can only take the value which is satisfying the condition given over here. Now let's explore this. It's given that Y minus X is equal to 1, right? Therefore, X will be Y minus 1, right? So over here, remember Y minus X is equal to 1. Therefore, I take X to the right hand side and 1 to the left hand side and I get X is equal to Y minus 1. Alright, now what about Z? Z is equal to 1 plus Y, right? So Z is equal to Y plus 1. So let me write that over here as well. Now AB is of length 23 and over here you can see that I have 1, 2, 3. 3 times X, 1, 2, 3. 3 times Y and 1, 2. 2 times Z. So that means AB is equal to 3X plus 3Y plus 2Z. Alright. Now let me substitute X as Y minus 1 and Z as Y plus 1 into this equation over here. So AB is equal to 3 into Y minus 1, that is 3Y minus 3 plus 3Y plus 2 into Y plus 1, which is 2Y plus 2. Alright, so over here I have 3Y, again 3Y and 2Y. So this simplifies to 8Y minus 1. Minus 3 plus 2 is minus 1. So over here this is 8Y minus 1. Alright, now this is equal to 23 as per the information given in the question stem, right? Therefore 8Y is equal to 24 or Y is equal to 3. If Y is equal to 3, X is equal to 3 minus 1, which is equal to 2, right? Now quantity A is 2 and quantity B is 4. Therefore the correct answer to this question is option B. Let's do this question. Quantity A is cube root of 270 minus cube root of 10 and quantity B is cube root of 80. Pause the video, give it a try and then let's do it together. Alright, we are back. I hope you have given it a try. Let's do it together. Now the right way to proceed with this question is simplify the expressions, alright, by prime factorization. Now let's prime factorize 270. Now I take out 3, I get 90. Again I take out 3, I get 30. I take out 3, I'm left with 10, right? So I can write cube root of 270 as cube root of 10 into 3 because I have 3 3's, so I can take it out, right? So it's 3 into cube root of 10. Now let's prime factorize cube root of 80. I take out 2, I get 40. I take out 2, I get 20. Again, I take out 2, I get 10, right? Now 10 is 2 into 5. Now I can write cube root of 80 as 2 into cube root of 10, right? Because I have 3 2's, so I can take 1 out. Alright, so quantity A becomes 3 into cube root of 10 minus cube root of 10, right? Which is equal to 2 into cube root of 10 and quantity B also is 2 into cube root of 10. Therefore, both of them are equal and the correct answer to this question is option C. Let's do this question. X is the decimal form of the fraction 7 by 11. Alright, now quantity A is the 213th digit to the right of the decimal point in X and quantity B is 5. Pause the video, give it a try and then let's do it together. Alright, we are back. I hope you have given it a try. Now to find 7 by 11, use the calculator. Alright, and then try to find a pattern to answer this question. Let's do that. 7 by 11 is equal to 0.63, 63, 63, etc. Right? That's what you will get on your calculator. Now, what is the pattern that you can observe over here? You can see that when it comes to the decimal places, the odd positions have 6 and the even positions have 3, right? Now, 213 is an odd number, right? Therefore, quantity A will be equal to 6, right? And hence that's greater than 5, and therefore the correct answer to this question is option A. Let's do this question. X is the decimal form of the fraction 1 by 7. Now quantity A is the 118th digit to the right of the decimal point in X, and quantity B is 7. Alright, pause the video, give it a try, and then let's do it together. Alright, we are back. I hope you have given it a try. Again, start with finding the value of 1 by 7 using the calculator, and then try to find a pattern so that you can solve this question. Now 1 by 7 is equal to 0.1428571428 etc. Right? So you can see that these 6 digits keep repeating themselves again and again. Alright. So we need to find the 118th digit. So let's divide 118 by 6 because 6 digits are repeating, right? So 118 by 6 gives you 19 as the quotient and the remainder is 4. That means 118 can be written as 6 into 19 plus 4. Alright, now if you take 0 into 6 plus 4, that's equal to 4. If you take 1 into 6 plus 4, that's equal to 10, etc. And over here you have 19 into 6 plus 4. All of these will have the same digit because it's repeating over here, right? Now 0 into 6 plus 4 is 4. The fourth digit over here is 8. Therefore, all of these over here will have 8 as the digit, and therefore quantity A is 8 and quantity B is 7. Therefore, let's do this question. X is the decimal form of the ratio of the circumference of a circle and its diameter. Alright. Now quantity A is the 18th digit to the right of the decimal point in X, and quantity B is 11. Pause the video, give it a try, and then let's do it together. Alright, we are back. I hope you have given it a try. Now this is nothing but pi, right? Pi is equal to the ratio of the circumference to the diameter. So if you have pi, that's circumference by diameter. Alright, and we know that circumference is 2 pi r based on this ratio. Now over here, we don't know by heart, right? We have not memorized pi to the 18th digit, right? Now remember, this anyway would always be a single digit, right? And this is a 2-digit number, right? Therefore, definitely quantity A will be less than quantity B, and therefore the correct answer to this question is option B. Let's do this question. X and Y are consecutive odd integers. Z is equal to x square plus y. Quantity A is minus 3 to the power z and quantity B is 3. Alright, pause the video, give it a try, and then let's do it together. Alright, we are back. I hope you have given it a try. Now over here, you need to try to find a pattern. And the best way to approach this question is by plugging in numbers. Alright, now before we go ahead and solve this question, is there anything that we can observe from the given question stem and the quantity A and quantity B? You can see over here that quantity A is minus 3 to the power z, right? So this part over here will be positive if z is even, right? Because a negative number to an even power will give a positive number, right? And similarly, z, if that is odd, then quantity A would be negative. Now we can see that quantity B is a positive number, which is plus 3. Alright, so this is what we observe from the given information. Now let's start by plugging in numbers. We have x, y and z, right? And that will determine the value of quantity A and quantity B. Now I need to choose x and y such that they are consecutive odd integers. Now one possible set is let x be 1 and y be 3. Now if that is taken, then z is equal to 1 plus 3, right? 1 square is 1 itself, and 1 plus 3 gives you 4. So z is equal to 4. In this case, quantity A is minus 3 to the power 4, right? That's the same as 3 to the power 4, and that is greater than 3, right? So in this case, we have quantity A greater than quantity B. Alright, now let's try another set of consecutive odd integers. What if I take x as minus 1 and y as 1? In this case, z is equal to minus 1 the whole square, which is 1, and 1 plus 1, right? That gives you z, which is equal to 2 over here. Alright, now over here, quantity A is minus 3 to the power 2, which is 9, and quantity B is 3. So again over here, we have A greater than B. Now, remember, it's just given that x and y are consecutive odd integers. It's not given that x has to be less than y or any such information. So let's try to reverse this. What if x is 1 and y is minus 1? in this case, we have z as 1 minus 1, right, which is equal to 0. All right. So in this case, quantity A is minus 3 to the power 0, which is 1, right? And quantity B is 3 itself. So over here, we have 3 greater than 1, right? That is, quantity A is less than quantity B. All right. So again, this is enough. You can stop at this point, and therefore the answer would be D, because you're not able to clearly establish whether the relationship is A greater than B or A less than B. Let's just try one more set of numbers. If x is minus 1 and y is minus 3, then z is equal to minus 2. Again, you have A less than B, right? So sometimes A is greater than B and sometimes A is less than B. Therefore, the correct answer to this question is D. Let's do this question. X is greater than 0 and x is not 1. Quantity A is 7 into x to the power minus 3 into x square. Alright. And quantity B is 35x square by 5x. Alright. Pause the video, give it a try, and then let's do it together. Alright, we are back. I hope you have given it a try. Let's do it together. Now, let's perform operations on the quantities. Let's apply this technique to solve this question. Alright, now if I multiply both the quantities with 5x, and remember, I can do that because it's given that x is greater than 0. So I know that 5x will be positive. So I'm multiplying with a positive number, and I can do that, right? Now, quantity A will become 35 into x to the power minus 3 into x square into x. That's 35 into x to the power minus 3 plus 2 plus 1. And quantity B will become 35 x square, because this 5x and this 5x will cancel out. Remember, why is this so? Because over here you have x to the power minus 3 into x square into x. Now the base is the same, so you can keep the same base and just add the exponents. That's minus 3 over here, 2 over here, and 1 over here. Alright, so quantity A is equal to 35 into x to the power 0, right? Because this adds up to 0 and that is equal to 1. Therefore, quantity A is 35 and quantity B is 35x square. Now let me divide quantity A and quantity B with 35. Then I get quantity A as 1 and quantity B as x square. So I just need to compare 1 and x square to solve this question. Now in the question stem, it's mentioned that x is greater than 0 and x is not 1, right? So let's substitute some numbers which satisfy this given criteria. If I take x as 1 by 2, right, then x square will become 1 by 4 and 1 is greater than 1 by 4. So A is greater than B in this scenario. If I take x as 2, in that case, x square will become 4, right? Therefore, 1 is less than 4. That is, A is less than B in this scenario. Therefore, sometimes I'm getting a relationship as greater than, and sometimes I'm getting a relationship as less than. Therefore, the correct answer to this question is option D. Let's do this question. X plus 5y is equal to 12 and minus x plus 3y is equal to minus 4. Now quantity A is x and quantity B is 2. Pause the video, give it a try, and then let's do it together. Alright, we are back. I hope you have given it a try. Now remember, in this type of a question, you cannot plug in numbers, right? Because you have a criteria given over here, and only by solving this can you find the value of x and y. Alright, so we have x plus 5y is equal to 12 and minus x plus 3y is equal to minus 4. Now if we add these two equations, on your left hand side you have 5y plus 3y, because these two cancel out, right? So you get 8y is equal to 12 minus 4, which is equal to 8. Therefore y is equal to 1. Now plug in this value into this equation over here. So you get x plus 5 is equal to 12 or x is equal to 7. So option A or quantity A is 7 and quantity B is 2. Therefore, the correct answer to this question is option A. Let's do this question. In a class, there are 7 more girls than boys. The number of girls in the class is A. Now, quantity A is the total number of children in the class and quantity B is 2A minus 7. Alright, pause the video, give it a try, and then let's do it together. Alright, we are back. I hope you have given it a try. Now, the best way to solve this question is just plug in numbers. Alright, now remember, when you plug in numbers, it has to satisfy the condition given in the question stem. Alright, so we have girls and boys in this class. Now, it's given that the number of girls is A and it's given that there are 7 more girls than boys. So if the number of girls is A, the number of boys will be A minus 7. Alright, now let's take that A is equal to 8. Alright, in that case, the boys would be 8 minus 7, which is equal to 1. And the total number of children in this class will be 8 plus 1, which is equal to 9. So quantity A, if we plug in these two values, is equal to 9. And what is 2A minus 7? That would be 2 into 8 minus 7, which is equal to 16 minus 7, which is also equal to 9. Therefore, these two are equal, and hence the correct answer to this question is option C. Let's do this question. X is greater than 0 and y is greater than 0. Now quantity A is 3 plus x into 5 plus y, and quantity B is 15 plus xy. Alright, pause the video, give it a try, and then let's do it together. Alright, we are back. I hope you have given it a try. Let's do it together. Now let's simplify the expression given as quantity A by opening the brackets. So that would be 3 into 5, you get 15, plus 3 into y, which is 3y, and x into 5, that's 5x, and x into y, that's xy, right? So this term over here expands as 15 plus 3y plus 5x plus xy, and as quantity B, you have 15 plus xy. Alright, now let's do operations on the quantities. Now over here you can notice that on quantity A and quantity B, you have 15 plus xy, right? So let's subtract 15 plus xy from both the quantities. Now quantity A becomes 3y plus 5x, and quantity B will become 0, right? Now again, clearly you can see that quantity A will be greater than quantity B, because this term over here has to be greater than 0, because x and y is greater than 0 as per the question stem, right? Therefore, the correct answer to this question is option A. Let's do this question. Anil owns X cars. Mukesh bought 5 more than half as many cars owned by Anil. Now, quantity A is the number of cars bought by Mukesh, and quantity B is X plus 7 by 2. Alright, pause the video, give it a try, and then let's do it together. Alright, we are back. I hope you have given it a try. Now, you can solve this question either by plugging in numbers or by using algebra. Let's try both. Now, if I take X as 4, that is the number of cars owned by Anil. Alright, what would be the number of cars that Mukesh has bought? That would be 5 more than half as many owned by Anil, which is 4, right? So M, let's take that as M. M would be equal to 5 plus 4 by 2, which is equal to 7. Alright, now in this case, quantity A is the number of cars bought by Mukesh, which is 7, and quantity B is X plus 7 by 2, which would be 4 plus 7 by 2, right? Which is equal to 5.5. Alright, so you can clearly see that quantity A is greater than quantity B. Therefore, the correct answer to this question is option A. Now, let's quickly see how you can solve this using algebra. Now, it's given that Mukesh bought 5 more than half as many cars owned by Anil. So, this is X, right? So, M would be equal to 5 plus X by 2, right? So, this simplifies to 10 plus X by 2, right? Now, we have to compare 10 plus X by 2 as quantity A and 7 plus X by 2 as quantity B, right? Clearly, 10 plus X by 2 is greater than X plus 7 by 2, and hence the correct answer to this question is option A. Let's do this question. X is not 0 and 5 by X plus 1 by 6 is equal to 1 by 3X. Alright. Now quantity A is X and quantity B is minus 3. Pause the video, give it a try, and then let's do it together. Alright, we are back. I hope you have given it a try. Now remember, you cannot plug in numbers over here, right? X has to satisfy the condition given over here. Now we have 5 by X plus 1 by 6 is equal to 1 by 3X. Let's solve this by multiplying both the sides of this equation with 3x, right? So that will help us simplify this equation over here. So I multiply 3x on the left hand side and the right hand side. So the left hand side becomes 15 plus x by 2, right? And the right hand side is 1. Now let me take 15 to the right hand side. So I get x by 2 is equal to minus 14, or x is equal to minus 28. So x is equal to minus 28 and quantity B is minus 3. So clearly quantity B is the greater quantity, and the correct answer to this question is option B. Let's do this question. 3x plus 5 is equal to 10 and 7y plus 2 is equal to 15. Now quantity A is x and quantity B is Y. Alright, now pause the video, give it a try, and then let's do it together. Alright, we are back. I hope you have given it a try. Let's do it together. Now it's given that 3x plus 5 is equal to 10. Therefore, x will be equal to 5 by 3, right, on solving. Similarly, 7y plus 2 is equal to 15. Therefore, y is equal to 13 by 7 on solving. Now we have x as 5 by 3 and y as 13 by 7. We just need to find which among these two is bigger. For that, let's cross multiply. We multiply 5 and 7. That's 35, and we write it over here where the numerator is, right? And we multiply 13 and 3 and we write it over here. So 5 into 7 is 35 and 13 into 3 is 39. So 35 is less than 39. So the same relation holds for these two fractions. That is 5 by 3 is less than 13 by 7, and hence the correct answer to this question is option B. Let's do this question. X plus y is equal to minus 3. Quantity A is x and quantity B is y. Pause the video, give it a try, and then let's do it together. Alright, we are back. I hope you have given it a try. Now to solve this type of questions, do operations on the quantities provided. Alright, you can also plug in numbers. You could use either method. Now let's try doing operations on the quantities. Now if I add y to quantity A and quantity B, right? Now quantity A will become x plus y, and that is equal to minus 3 as per the question stem, right? And quantity B will become y plus y, which is equal to 2y. Now I need to compare minus 3 and 2y. Let me divide both the sides by 2, right? So I get quantity A as minus 3 by 2 and quantity B as y. Now this is what I need to compare. Now when I choose values for x and y, all I need to remember is x plus y has to be equal to minus 3. There is no criteria other than this given, right? So definitely the answer will be D. Let me show that to you. If I take x as 0 and y as minus 3, it satisfies the given criteria, right? In this case, you can see that I have minus 3 by 2 as quantity A and minus 3 as quantity B. In this case, quantity A is greater than quantity B. What if I take x as minus 3 and y as 0, right? That is also possible. In this case, I have minus 3 by 2 and 0 is greater than minus 3 by 2. So the relationship is not constant, it's varying, right? Therefore, the correct answer to this question is option D. Let's do this question. A, B, C are three consecutive even integers such that A less than B less than C. Now quantity A is A plus C minus 1 and quantity B is 2B plus 1. Alright, pause the video, give it a try, and then let's do it together. Alright, we are back. I hope you have given it a try. Let's do it together. Now let's start by plugging in some numbers. Let's take three consecutive even integers. I can take 0, 2 and 4, right? These are consecutive even integers. Remember, 0 is even, right? Because 2 into 0 is equal to 0. Alright, now over here we have three consecutive even integers. Now as per this criteria over here, A will be 0, B will be 2 and C will be 4. Now A plus C minus 1 will be 0 plus 4 minus 1, which is 3, and 2B plus 1 is 2 into 2 plus 1, which is 5. So I am getting quantity B as the greater quantity. Let me try another set of numbers. I have minus 2, 0 and 2. Now A plus C minus 1 will become minus 1 and 2B plus 1 is equal to 1. Again I am getting the same relationship, right? Therefore you can either be satisfied with this and proceed by marking option B, or to be certain you have to use algebra, because as we discussed before, unless you get two contradictory scenarios, you cannot be certain with just plugging in numbers. Alright, now over here let me show you how you can approach this with algebra. Now we know that A plus C will be equal to 2B because these are three consecutive even integers, right? That's what we have over here. Why is this so? Let's take A as x. What would be B? B would be x plus 2 and C would be x plus 4, right? So what is A plus C? That is x plus 4, which is equal to 2x plus 4, right? And what is 2B? That's 2 into x plus 2, which is again 2x plus 4, right? So A plus C is equal to 2B. So I can substitute 2B instead of A plus C. All right, let me make some space over here. Now therefore quantity A is nothing but 2B minus 1, right? Now quantity B is 2B plus 1, and therefore quantity B is greater than quantity A, right? If you have 2B minus 1 and 2B plus 1, definitely quantity B will be greater. Now if you have a confusion about this, you can easily check this. Try to subtract 2B from both the quantities. So you are left with minus 1 in quantity A and 1 in quantity B, and 1 is definitely greater than minus 1. This is performing operations on the quantities, right? Therefore, the correct answer to this question is option B. Let's do this question. A is an even integer. Quantity A is 1 by 7 to the power A, and quantity B is minus 7 to the power A. Pause the video, give it a try, and then let's do it together. Alright, we are back. I hope you have given it a try. Let's do it together. Now, we solve this by plugging in numbers. Alright, now if I take A as 2, what is quantity A? That would be 1 by 7 to the power 2, and quantity B is minus 7 to the power 2, right? Clearly, minus 7 to the power 2 will be 49, and that is greater than this over here, which is a fraction. And remember, A is an even integer. Alright, so I've tried A is equal to 2. What happens if I take A as a negative even number? If A is minus 2, what happens? Quantity A will be 1 by 7 to the power minus 2. Remember, x to the power minus 2 is 1 by x to the power 2, right? So we use this property over here. 1 by 7 to the power minus 2 will be equal to 7 to the power 2, right? So you keep the same power, but you inverse what you have over here. That's what you're doing over here, right? Instead of x, you have to write 1 by x, and minus 2 will become 2, right? So you have to take the inverse. So 1 by 7 to the power minus 2 is equal to 7 to the power 2, and minus 7 to the power 2 will be equal to 1 by minus 7 to the power 2, because this is minus 2, right? So again, you have to take the inverse and you raise it to the power 2. Now you're comparing these two numbers. So this over here is 49 and this is a fraction. So the relationship is changing, right? So over here it was less than, over here it is greater than, and hence the correct answer to this question is option D. Let's do this question. A is a negative even integer. Let's do this question. A is a negative even integer. Quantity A is 1 by 5 to the power A, and quantity B is minus 5 to the power A. Pause the video, give it a try, and then let's do it together. Alright, we are back. I hope you have given it a try. Let's do it together. Now, the best way to solve this question is by plugging in numbers. Now, what happens when A is equal to minus 2? And remember, you can only plug in negative even integers, because that's the criteria given in the question stem. Now over here, this becomes 1 by 5 to the power minus 2, which is equal to 5 to the power 2, right? So that's your quantity A. What about quantity B? This is minus 5 to the power minus 2, which is equal to 1 by minus 5 to the power 2. Alright, so over here you get 25, and this is a positive fraction, right? So definitely quantity A is greater than quantity B, and hence the correct answer to this question is option A. Now let's also try to do this using operations on quantities. And remember, do you need to check more numbers? You don't need to, right? Because you can observe that you using a number sense that the same thing will happen if you take minus 4, right? Again, you'll get a positive number over here and you'll get a fraction over here. So the relationship is not going to change if you try different negative even integers. That's why we can conclude that the answer is A. Now let's perform operations on quantities to approach this question in a different manner. Again, we start with the quantity A and quantity B in this manner. Now let's multiply both of these with 5 to the power A. Alright, now quantity A will become 1 by 5 to the power A into 5 to the power A, which is equal to 1, right? Because 5 to the power A is a positive number, so you can do that. So your quantity A is equal to 1. What about quantity B? That's minus 5 to the power A into 5 to the power A. So minus 5 to the power A is nothing but minus 1 to the power A into 5 to the power A. So I'm multiplying this with 5 to the power A. So this becomes minus 1 to the power A into 5 to the power A plus A, because the base over here is 5 and it's 5 over here. So I can keep the base as the same and I'm adding the powers. Alright, now let's try to observe this. A is given as a negative even integer. So definitely minus 1 to the power A will be positive 1, and 5 to the power A plus A will be a fraction, right? Because a plus a will be a negative number, and 5 to the power a negative integer will be a fraction. So your quantity b is a fraction and your quantity a is 1. Definitely quantity a is greater than quantity b, and hence the correct answer to this question is option A. Let's do this question. In the question stem, it's mentioned that AB is greater than 0 and quantity A is 4 by A plus 7 by B, and quantity B is 4B plus 7A divided by A plus B. Pause the video, give it a try, and then let's do it together. Alright, we are back. I hope you have given it a try. Now, over here it's given that A into B is greater than 0. So what does it mean? It means that either A and B has to be positive, right? Or A and B has to be negative. Then only this criteria will be true, right? If you take one of them as 0 or one of them as positive and the other as negative, then this criteria over here will not hold, right? So either both of them has to be positive or both of them has to be negative. So this is something that you need to keep in mind while plugging in numbers. Alright, so quantity A is 4 by A plus 7 by B, and quantity B is 4B plus 7A by A plus B. Alright, now let's try some values. What if I take A and B as 1? So over here quantity A becomes 4 by 1 plus 7 by 1, which is equal to 11, and quantity B becomes 11 by 1 plus 1, which is 11 by 2. So clearly quantity A is greater than quantity B. Now remember, when you plug in numbers, you need to have a good range of numbers. Now over here we have tested this scenario. Now let's test this scenario where A and B are negative. What if I take A as minus 1 and B as minus 1? Now in this case quantity A is 4 by minus 1 plus 7 by minus 1, which is equal to minus 11, right? And quantity B is minus 11 by minus 2, which is 11 by 2. So this is a negative number and this is a positive number, right? Therefore this is greater, right? Now you can see that the relationship varies. Over here we got greater than, and over here we are getting less than. So the relationship varies, and hence the correct answer to this question is option D. Let's do this question. A is greater than 0. Quantity A is A by 9 and quantity B is 9 by A. Pause the video, give it a try, and then let's do it together. Alright, we are back. I hope you have given it a try. Let's do it together. Now A is greater than 0. So I can multiply both the sides by A, right? We are doing operations on the quantities. Alright, so if I multiply both the quantities with A, my quantity A becomes A square by 9 and quantity B is equal to 9. Alright, now let me multiply both these quantities by 9 so that I can get rid of this denominator over here. Alright, so if I do that, quantity A is equal to A square and quantity B is equal to 81. Alright, now we need to compare these two quantities. The only thing given is A is greater than 0, right? So definitely the answer to this has to be D, right? Because I could take A as 1. In that case, 1 is less than 81. I could take A as 100. In that case, 100 square is greater than 81. So it's varying, right? So definitely the answer is option D. Let's do this question. A is less than 0. Quantity A is A by 13 and quantity B is 13 by A. Alright, pause the video, give it a try, and then let's do it together. Alright, we are back. I hope you have given it a try. Now over here, A is a negative number. So don't try to multiply both the quantities with A. Because if you multiply two quantities with a negative number, then the inequality sign will change, right? So let's not do that. Let's solve this question by plugging in numbers. Now what happens when A is equal to minus 1? Quantity A becomes minus 1 by 13 and quantity B is 13 by minus 1. So clearly minus 1 by 13 is greater than minus 13. Alright, now what happens when A is equal to minus 26? So why am I doing this? Because I want the magnitude of the numerator to be greater than 13, right? So I'm trying to create a scenario which is different to what we have over here. Alright, now in this case, my quantity A is minus 26 by 13 and quantity B is 13 by minus 26, right? So clearly this one is greater than what we have over here, right? So this is minus 2 and this is minus 1 by 2, and minus 1 by 2 is greater than minus 2. So we have a scenario where the situation is reversing, and hence the correct answer to this question is option D. Let's do this question. a machine produces widgets at a constant rate of 3 every second. Now quantity A is the number of widgets produced in 3 hours and quantity B is 9,000. Alright, pause the video, give it a try and then let's do it together. Alright, we are back. I hope you have given it a try. Now, it's given that in 3 seconds, one widget is produced, right? So in 1 second, 1/3 of a widget would be produced. Now we have 3 hours over here. Now 3 hours is 3 into 60 into 60 seconds, right? So we have 3 hours. Converting this into minutes is by multiplying with 60. So we have 3 into 60 minutes and 1 minute is 60 seconds. So if you multiply this with 60, you get the number of seconds in 3 hours. So we have 3 into 60 seconds. So in this much amount of time, there would be 1/3 into 3 into 60 widgets produced, right? So this 3 and this 3 cancel out. So 60 into 60 widgets would be produced. So quantity A is 60 into 60 and quantity B is 9,000, right? So let's divide both quantity A and quantity B with 100 so that these two zeros cancel out, right? So quantity A is 36 and quantity B is 90. Therefore, the correct answer to this question is option B.